right, we are live.
We're live. We're good to
Brandon, give us the intro.
Right. Dude, I'm about to get it to you. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Rap Thought Podcast, brought to you by a potential earthquake because we heard loud noises, but it's just some car pulling up. Matthew and Brandon. And yeah, that's what's up. That is what's up. And we're doing it. This week, we're taking a look at Elzhi's new project. But yeah, we're looking at 7 times down, 8 times up.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. You
Okay.
get knocked down 7 times, you get up 8 times.
We were counting it off, not me and Matt, but you know, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. I fucked up. Yeah, I messed that up, but I know it makes sense. But then when you kind of put it out there out loud, it's like
I wasn't trying to do any math. I'm not doing any math with that.
So you didn't even fact check it. You're just like, oh, it sounds good. We'll roll with it.
No, yeah, it just sounds good. You get knocked down 7 times, you get up 8 times.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what order you're in.
I think an order matters. Anyways.
So this is Elzhi's 5th studio album. He's done a bunch of mixtapes. He's been in a few groups, namely Slum Village. He released a group project with the producer Crisis under the name Jericho Jackson. Came out in 2017. Amazing album as well. You should definitely check that out.
Crisis also did a project with dude that was on Dr. Dre's Compton. That was King Mez, but then now he goes by Mez.
Gotcha.
Also pretty cool.
Yeah, Crisis is an amazing producer. He's on the Ninth Wonders Drama label. So he's part of that whole crew. But on this album, it's completely produced by J.R. Swifts, who is an up-and-coming producer out of Virginia. He's already been working with some of the members from Griselda. And from what I'm hearing from him, I love his production as well. It fits with Elzhi's past work. Like, it goes right in line. He's not going too outside of what Elzhi would rap on. Which is dope. I like the consistency. But I want to give some more background on Elzhi. He came up in Detroit with Eminem, Royce, Proof. So he comes from that era of Detroit hip hop in the mid 90s. And Elzhi, you know, he joined Slum Village in the early 2000s after J Dilla left.
He was originally just there for a couple features, but then the chemistry, everything was working out so well that they just asked him he got a formal invitation to join the group.
Yeah, and he did that, and then I think there was some, disputes between him and the other members of Slum Village, and it didn't quite pan out. It didn't work out for whatever reason. I'm sure a lot of it has to do with contracts and money and all that other bullshit that comes with being on a label.
I was also reading a little bit of him just wanting to get his own solo career up and going again.
Right.
And that's another reason.
Yeah,
why he left.
and he did. Elzhi, for me personally, Elzhi is one of my favorite rappers. I think I've been listening to him since about 2008 when he put out the Europass mixtape, which was a CD he only gave out on his tour in Europe that year.
That's dope.
And
so you really that's exclusive right there.
Well, I didn't get it in Europe, obviously, but that shit was passed around on the forums, the underground hip hop forums back in the day.
Guess it's not that you couldn't burn that CD,
right?
But I mean, that's pretty exclusive.
Obviously they burned it and uploaded it online.
No, that's what I'm saying. But what I was getting at is like, that's pretty cool that if that technology weren't there to exclusively get that from a show, that's pretty dope.
Right. And so I remember everyone going crazy for this mixtape on the forums. Like, everyone was losing their minds about it, and a lot of it was, and I loved it too, and a lot of those songs went on to the album The Preface, which is an amazing album produced mostly by Black Milk.
I need to listen to that album again. So you got that for me a couple years ago, and I'd have to listen to it now because I feel like my things would change.
He's rapping his ass off on that, and he has so many crazy concepts and storytelling, and the track with Royce is amazing. But him and Royce are incredible together every time they're on a track.
That's the thing, is like I removed it from my phone though, so for whatever reason, it wasn't memorable to me. But that's why I'm
Gotcha.
saying, like, I need to listen to it again. Because after
Right.
listening to this album, I'm like, okay, I missed something the first time.
Right. And then after that, you know, he had definitely had a long hiatus. He put out Illmatic, which is his tribute to Illmatic, where he worked with a band called Will Sessions, and they redid all the beats from Illmatic live with live instrumentation, and Elzhi rapped over them.
You guys should check that out if you haven't.
Yeah,
It's worth
incredible
a listen.
album. And then I think like 5 years later, he puts out Lead Poison in 2016, which is one of my favorite albums from that year. I listened to it nonstop. It's an incredible album. It is a lot more somber, and he talks a lot about his depression in Lead Poison, and it's very concept heavy. Lead Poison was him writing out his depression. He was getting the poison outside of him through his pen, through his pencil.
That's symbolic. I like that.
Yeah, it's a really dope album. It's actually on the list for us to do. So we'll get to that when we do. It could be a year from now. But so I really love that album. I bumped it nonstop. I love the Jericho Jackson album. And then this album was a surprise drop. I didn't know he was working on this. I didn't know he was going to put this out until maybe a week or two before it came out, which was last Friday. And yeah, I remember texting you. I don't know if you remember. I said I have a hot take about Elzhi that I want to say, and my hot take is he's top 5 lyricists ever.
I saw your post.
Yeah,
And I was like,
top 5. I put him above Eminem. I put him above a lot of rappers, just because of the way he puts words together. This is how I thought about it. Elzhi is what Eminem would be if you took the corniness and the goofiness and the I'm gonna kill my mom shit out of Eminem's lyrics, and you just had the dope rhyming. You would have Elzhi.
but to be fair though, that's not even his last 3 albums for Eminem.
I said corniness.
No, I know, but I'm saying the corniness was removed in like the last 3 albums, and I feel like that's
I don't
when
know.
he's evolved lyrically
Yeah,
from that. But
he still uses a lot of gimmicks and corny things, whereas Elzhi, there's nothing corny about him. Everything he spits is incredible.
I'm not disputing him being better than Eminem. That's whatever. I was just, for fairness, we got to look at the last 3 albums.
Right. And I'm not trying to shit on him. Eminem is obviously one of the best lyricists ever too, but
Put some real thoughts on that. That's cool.
For me, I put Elzhi above. Even though I think Eminem makes more impactful music, and obviously from his past, he's made music that has reached a lot more people and is way more impactful, things like that. But if we're just looking at lyricism and putting words together in creative ways, Elzhi edges him out for me.
Will you define impactful in this context?
Impactful in terms of...
You said your line was Eminem is more impactful than Elzhi, so can you define impact in that context?
Impact in terms of affecting people and being heard, and people wanting to listen, like listening to your music and being just completely enamored with it and hooked on it. It's like so many people are hooked on Eminem's music.
Okay.
Like they'll listen to it no matter what it is.
That's interesting because I agree with that. When you said impactful, sometimes I think of when someone says something to you, it's like, wow, that really touched me. That was really impactful. And I feel like just from grew up listening to Eminem, so I've listened to all of his albums in and out, but I'm just now getting into Elzhi. I've listened to 3 of his albums. And so I think that Elzhi says things that are more insightful than Eminem, but I guess that's different from impactful. So maybe we're on the same page.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Because definitely Eminem's impacted where you relate in some areas, but he's not telling me anything that's like really made me soul search. Where I feel like Elzhi, we'll fucking go through this album, but there's some things I'm like, dude, that line though, where it just makes you think.
And this is starting with Lead Poison and this album. He's gotten a lot more introspective, and he's gotten a lot more internal with his rhymes and speaking about himself and talking about his ego and his depression and whatever he's going through. he's been getting that out in his lyrics recently, where he didn't have as much as that on the preface and Europass and some of his mixtapes.
To add to the intro, which will come in later too, his name is Jason Powers, he was born in 1978. And I bring that up because 1978, he's 10 years older than us, so he's 42. And so, here and there we talk about what's rap in your 40s and your 50s looking like. Mm-hmm. You just mentioned introspective, kind of more in touch with himself, talking about past things and bringing them to light and shedding things and growth. And I think that's another part of like how can you be relevant in 2020?
Right.
And, with the new age of hip hop and how music's going. Mm-hmm. So interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. He's right up along Royce with putting out great music later in their career.
I'm loving this I don't want to. It's not even old men rap hip hop. It's just like people, seasoned veterans in hip hop, and what they're still bringing to the table. And I really like that.
What I love about it is, we can compare it to wine. They're aging better. They're getting better with age, which I love. They're not aging like a cheese. You know what I'm saying? Where it's great for a week and then it's done after that. You got to throw it away. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I love that all these veterans are keeping up with the times and also pushing themselves to do better and to not just be complacent and put out the same old shit over and over.
I'm going to throw a question out there. Is it that they are getting better, or is the game just so bad that it's like, wow, this is great?
No, I think they're getting better because their audience isn't listening to the new shit. You know what I mean? Like for us, we're listening to this, only listening to this type of music. So I think if they weren't living up to it, we would recognize it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, there was I don't know if I'll bring it up now. There was a person on Twitter that he hated on us for a second and kind of perusing the profile. It's just interesting. Like you can tell just from how they write stuff that it's a younger person. Mm-hmm. And one of them, because we did the Freshman XXL cover, and one of them was NLE Choppa, and we were just like, nah. But it's just like considering someone like that, a future GOAT, better than Pac, better than Big and everything. And you just kind of wonder, we're over here saying like what we really like about people that have stayed in the game so long and what they're doing now. And I feel like it's all subjective at the end of the day, to be fair. But right. I'm just kind of curious, like if you compare this new generation with the old, like what are positive characteristics you really like about them? If they're just talking about, I went and I got high off of this and I pulled the gat out on that and whatever else, it's like, what are you taking from that? Because for me, it's like maybe it's just the beat, and it's like if it's the beat, then you just like the producer. You don't necessarily like the artist. If you like the vibes behind it, you like the producer.
Right.
So I don't know. There's just kind of some thoughts on that. I don't know. So yeah, man. I think that's where we.
Yeah, and I think we should let the listeners know for this episode. Typically, when we've done a new album, all the lyrics have been posted on Genius. For this album, for whatever reason, people aren't staying on their shit. Most of the songs did not have their lyrics up. So for a podcast like us, where we like to dig deep and read the lyrics as we do research and take notes for this episode, we did not have that, which makes it harder on us because we got to listen to it many more times. And then add on to that, you're adding a fucking amazing writer who there's levels to every single bar that he writes with Elzhi. It makes it even harder for us to really hone in on what he's trying to say without reading the lyrics. Elzhi is pretty much the quintessential artist that you need to read his lyrics to catch everything.
I'm glad that you, great disclaimer. I'm glad it was, said like that. Because I felt away. I was like, man, like I texted you a lyric and I was like, dude, did you catch that?
And you're like, no, I didn't catch that.
But, and I was just like, yeah, I feel that. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of other stuff that I miss too. So,
yeah.
But yeah, man, it was still, at the end of the day, it was still a great listen. I I think I'd speak for the both of us. I'm bummed that the lyrics weren't there to go deeper, because there's going to be a lot of stuff that we could probably do another one of these and cover a bunch of more stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and you can blame me for that. I pushed for us to do this episode quicker than what we normally would do. That's only because I wanted to get out, because I want this to come out while people are listening to this album fresh, and I want them to hear our thoughts on it.
We don't hate you. It's all good.
No, I'm just putting it out there. But yeah, it was definitely different, because I remember you texted me a line and I was like, no, I didn't catch that. And then I actually listened to that song, Masterclass, like 5 times, and I still didn't catch it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I kept listening to it over and over. I was like, did he get it right? Did he tell me the wrong song? And I just couldn't catch it, because the problem is I would be focusing on a bar like 2 or 3 lines before that part, and I'd still be thinking about it. So I'm not paying attention to the next bars coming up. So I mentioned this many times on this podcast. I love replay value. This album has a lot of replay value, because every time I put on a song, I catch a new line, I catch a new meaning to a bar, and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't catch that. And then it reinvigorates you to re-listen again to catch another bar. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's tons of replay value.
Man, I thought I was kind of the only one that felt the way sometimes, because it's like you're on pause, but then you can see the future like happening or something like that. So I'm trying to listen for what's happening, but I'm still trying to process the last couple bars that were said. And I'm like, okay, I didn't hear anything just now, so I need to go back.
Yeah, it's too much brain power to catch every single bar. You just can't.
So this album dropped Thursday night, which was the date for the Thursday that it dropped was the 25th. Is that right? No, sorry, the 24th.
Yeah.
So this dropped on the 24th. We always record a week. This album, this pod will come out a week after that we have recorded it. So you guys lyrics will probably pop up. You guys will have listened to it for 2 weeks. So if you're hearing this and being like, what the fuck do you mean? It's because you're hearing this 2 weeks later on.
Right.
But enough of those disclaimers.
Right. Let's get into the album.
Yeah.
So we start off with the Foolish intro, which Foolish is a comedian from Detroit. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah. No, it doesn't say it in the album. I looked it up. It says it on his Bandcamp. There's like a description for the album. So Foolish, his name is Foolish. He's a comedian, and he's introing this album, and he's featured pretty much throughout the whole album, giving commentary. I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't
of Foolish, like a Foolish's material, or Foolish?
No, not his material. It's funny. I just wish it wasn't there. I wish I could listen to it once and then take it off the songs. I don't need it every time. You know what I mean? It doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't add value to the songs.
I don't know, man. Like,
it's funny. Like when I first heard it, it's funny. He says some really funny shit on it.
Yeah, I think I'm indifferent about it. Like, I like that, he's adding to the tone of the album a little bit, but it doesn't really fit the vibe of the album, though.
Right. Because Elzhi's serious most of the time.
He's serious, and there is jokes, and especially like in a lot of his lyrics where we'll go through that. Like he has a lot of clever lines, but I don't know. Like I'm not gonna say I didn't mind it, but
it wasn't bad.
Yeah,
I just don't. It just didn't add to the album. It didn't take away from the album, but also didn't add to it. If it wasn't there, it wouldn't make the album any less great or bad. You know what I mean? It wouldn't change my score for the album.
I'm wondering if you would agree with this. Like, I think that for, let's say some of the stuff that he was saying, let's say he said a total of 100 words or something like that. The first 50 were like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm cool with the album. The other 50 was like, okay, we can cut that out. So I liked how just like subtle jabs of saying like, it's hard to make music when you're fake. And I liked when he was saying this is the type of music you listen to and don't want to move. So when he said that, it's kind of like setting this precedence of what you're about to get into. Right. And so I was like, okay. Yeah. But then when I listened to the album like 2 more times and I came back and I was like, hell yeah, that's music you don't want to move to because you're going to miss something. So I liked that.
Right.
And that settled
I think
with me.
just the intro would have been cool. Not throughout the whole album of him coming in. You know, maybe an intro, an interlude in the middle, and then an outro would have been enough for me.
Okay. I mean, I'm trying to, There's subtle. I think that's where, like in other albums where the stuff is featured at the end of the song. So then when you finish it, you can just skip or whatever. The only time I don't like it is, let's say you make a mixtape or something like that, or I don't know, because an album with a bunch of songs on it, then before you get to the next song, you have to listen to their bullshit. Yeah. So I don't like that. I would rather it be I personally, for that matter, would like for it to be a separate thing, so that if I ever make a mix, that I don't have to worry about their shit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I like the line he says at the end of the intro. He's talking about the zoo and the deer. All the deer have Ben Wallace wigs on. That show was fun.
Are you that poor that you grew up? But that's the other part too, is like he's talking about like how they grew up in a very low income spot, which gets referenced and picked up here and there.
Right.
But I don't know, kind of transitions into Smoke and Mirrors a little bit. So this one, second track, first track in a way, this one was like, when I first heard it, these are my nitpicks. When the first 30 seconds, he starts off with a certain tempo and then it switches. And I was like, I would have preferred the first 30 seconds of that tempo throughout the entire track. And then on another playthrough, I was like, this song is too long. Because it's just, there's no chorus, there's no breaks. It's just
going bars.
All bars.
Yeah. And
that's where I was, but then it's like, well, why don't you like it? It's because I'm not processing everything that's happening for me. You're listening to probably like 80 bars worth, if not more. What's 12, 24, 36, 48, 72 probably.
Right.
It's just straight bars. And I was like, I can't process all
that's
that.
what Elzhi does best.
But I respect it. I was just mad at myself because I couldn't keep up and I didn't have fucking lyrics to read it.
Yeah, I fucking love the beat on this. I thought J.R. Swift's killed it. And the same, King Crooked did a song on one of his Good Verse Evil projects with the same piano sample. That's super dope. That's one of my favorite songs too. So I think I just love the sample. But he says some dope ass lines in this. It is bar heavy to start. Again, like we've talked about many times, the intro track sets you up for the tempo for the album. This sets you up for the album of it's gonna be bar heavy.
But Matt, it's not only bar heavy, like it's also metaphor and analogy heavy. So that's the other thing that stalls you too, is because you're still processing. Wait, there's a double entendre on that. I need to make sure I understand that.
Yeah.
And you get stuck.
Yeah. Well, some things I wrote down about this song in particular was his flow was great. He's very focused and very calculated. Everything's in pocket. You know what I mean? It's so laser focused on what he wants to tell you.
He also keeps the energy the entire track. Like I would imagine if I'm delivering this monologue, I did theater for, in high school, and there's points in time where like, you lose energy as you're delivering this soliloquy or this monologue or something like that. And he keeps the same, as you said, the same tempo, all 4 minutes long or however long it is. So I give him that.
Yeah.
What did you get from the Smoke and Mirrors? And I like this because we both weren't able to read it.
Well, he's smoking. He says it. He's smoking weed while he's looking at himself in the mirror. So he's creating the smoke that's there in front of him. So he can't really see everything. But then he's looking at himself and he's recognizing things about himself where he can't really see his whole self. So sometimes he sees a failure, sometimes he sees a warrior. He said that was one of his lines. So he's recognizing that at times he's really up about himself, sometimes he's really down about himself. And he's trying to see through the smoke and figure out who he really is.
I like all that. I kind of took it a different way too, but I think both of us got it. In the beginning, he talks about like the pressures of going to school and amounting to become something and having to make the right choice, but then living with yourself if you made the wrong choice. And we all feel that all the time. I know friends that have gone, they've got their bachelor's, they didn't like that, they have to go back to school. And it's just this ongoing cycle of getting into debt to do something that you want to do. And I feel like that was a play on life being a bunch of smoke and mirrors, which is synonymous with tricks and stuff through life. We put things out and we encourage people to do things, but then it's not all that it seems. Like life has so many layers to it that we're not given the answers, and we're really not even prepped. Middle school doesn't prepare you for high school. High school doesn't prepare you for college. It's all, life is kind of a bunch of smoke and mirrors. And I like how throughout this entire album, he's very uplifting and very confident. And so he's kind of like telling the listener, like, and also himself, like, you're a pyramid, you're a pharaoh, you're all these high things, like you're more than what you think you are, and you can do anything you really put your mind to get yourself through the smoke and mirrors of life.
It's very different than Lead Poison. Lead Poison was almost the opposite, where it was just about himself and it was very depressing. The album did have a lot of points of getting out of depression and seeing your worth. This album he's already there. He knows his worth now, and he's pushing forward with that. So that's the difference between these two albums, if you were to relate them.
That's cool. I think your definition was probably a bigger nail on the head. But I think
mine was just more literal.
Yeah, but no, that's what I'm saying. Like, I kind of like it all together. Yeah. I think it makes for us a positive message for people. And that's what I like to hear in my music, is like, I like to listen to things that make me feel enriched and that can touch on things that I've gone through. Everyone's gone through life and gone through the trials and tribulations of it and the obstacles. So I think that's a really cool thing. Like, I've gone through some shit, but I made it and I'm good. And there's no reason you can't do it either. It's all good. So I like that.
And then next we go into Early Bird Night Owl. Already I love that title because, you have people that are early birds, like I am, and then you have people who are night owls. My girlfriend's a night owl. She likes to be up all night. She doesn't like to be up early in the morning.
Yeah, man.
So
it's nothing to do in the morning.
Opposites, but
there's nothing to do there. But, and with that, I mean, it kind of has this dichotomy between it. And you hear, obviously, as you said, what the two differences are, but I really like how when he does the chorus, he makes that very clear. It's a very high inflection. I'm the early bird, and then the low inflection, I'm the night owl. And even though it's the same person, if you didn't know it, you'd be like, oh, it's two different people. He's got someone else on the chorus. I really like that.
Yeah, he spit some crazy lines on this. I love when he says, "My moral compass has accomplished more than a GPS inside a Prius." And I was like, that one made me pause for a minute. I'm like, oh shit, that's kind of crazy because, he's, it's a double entendre with compass and, to find direction, and GPS gives you direction, and a GPS and a Prius, you're driving that for many miles. So you're going a long way. So I love those play on words.
There's a couple ones in there that I thought were pretty funny, and just telling someone to sit down before I have to make change and deposit, and it's like, okay, okay, I don't want to make change.
He's talking his shit on this. I mean, he's got some great battle raps in here. He says, "Y'all in bad shape if y'all square up with us and don't get from around us." So he's saying if you square up with us and if you're not in shape, you're not gonna be able to get around us. But square up, get around.
And that's one of the ones I missed. That's a dope one. Altogether with Early Bird and Night Owl, what I got from that was that he's creating this master plan for himself, kind of based on success.
Right. He stays up all night writing raps, but then he wakes up early and gets back to work.
Yeah, he's working on himself, and he's doing it and really focus on that growth. Like that he's bad to the bone, like the skeletons in your closet. Yeah. And there was a line in there too, and I think it may have followed the Prius comment, but where he's basically questioning. In general, I really like not so much explicit dissing someone, but just like a kind of umbrella of like anyone, whoever I want to aim that at. And so, he just kind of in reference to himself, talking about how he's ascended and he's on Jupiter, and by elevating his game. So like if he stoops to your level, how stupid are you? So just kind of questioning your intelligence in that. And I was like, all right, I see it. So I like the clever wordplay. So I like all that. I like the meaning behind the track too.
Yep.
You know, before we continue though, like 7 times down, 8 times up. Did you catch any of that in any other track explicitly?
Not explicitly, no. I didn't catch any of that. I think it was more of just the overall feel for the album, where it's, you know, he's been knocked down so many times. This album is his 8th time getting up. I think that's just the name of the whole album. I don't think he was really referencing it directly.
Yeah, sometimes it's mentioned, and that's why I think we're on the same page, because I was like, throughout this album, as he's talking about confidence, you get the idea. It doesn't even have to be one event in particular. It's just you just get this feel of all this strength and this growth that he's gone through of like, okay, I can see why he's called it 7 times down, 8 times up, because you can just see what he's working on himself.
Right.
And that's what I got. I like how he's trying to drop the hottest shit this winter and the coldest shit this summer and hot winter, cold summer.
Right. Yeah, it's same kind of concept as the title Early Bird Night Owl. They're two opposites. So on this song, I got a lot of him mentioning his ego and defeating it. Whereas his previous solo album, Lead Poison, was dealing with depression and being defeated by his ego. This album and this song is more about he's defeated his ego. He was able to overcome that and come out the other side. And like we were just talking about, this is 8 times up. He's beaten in, now he's up. He's on the up. And a lot of the lines in this, he's calling out rappers in the music industry, you know, saying how they're all trying to sound the same. There's no creativity. There's no trying to be unique. And I think, you know, he's not saying they're making bad music, but there's something to be said for just being another brick in the wall. You know what I mean? You're not bringing anything new to the table. And you know, without that, like, what are you really doing if you're not being, you know, unique and carving your own lane?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he kind of hints that, you know, they're just going to dissolve in a little bit because they're all, you know, if the industry's out here getting people that are all the same, I see it, but like they're not going to be around for a whole lot longer.
This is definitely one of those songs that I wish we had the lyrics for. Mm-hmm. So I could have dove in a bit deeper into it, because I mean, his wordplay was crazy on this. It's hard to keep up, you know, just listening to it without reading the lines.
Yeah, track 5, Light One, Right One.
Dude, shit is fire. This one got me hyped.
I took a bunch of notes and then I realized that was only the first verse. So I was like, fuck. So most of when I was checking out the second verse, I wasn't as impressed with it as the first verse. So I'm all right with just sticking to that anyways.
Sure. But yeah, just the beat, like, this is a neck cracking beat. This makes you, as soon as you hear it, you just start moving and you feel it right away. And this is the perfect boom bap beat for Elzhi to rap over.
This is for me just like a chill beat. Like, you're just kind of like, dude, check this track out, and then you're just sitting on the couch and you cue it up and just nod into it for sure. But I like how he sets the scene, like, and he apologizes for it later, where it's like he just lights one up and he's in the zone. Because in this track he's going from topic to topic to topic and just kind of going up.
Yeah, so. That's very true. He does talk a lot about different things. He does bring up being black and the struggles that go with that. In these lines, he says, "I think dead ends are new beginnings to grow, like 5 on the black hand side. Taking pride in your fro during Jim Crow. Just let the gym go. Did you catch it? I hope it was caught by some kid whose parents got divorced and they think it's their fault. Don't carry that with you as an adult. It may make you depressed from your subconscious head in the vault. So really deep lines there. And he's throwing some gems out there to help people. He wants people to realize, hey, if you went through, a divorce or hard shit, like, it's not your fault. And he mentions Jim Crow and taking pride in who you are as a person and your history and where you come from.
And don't forget, 5 on the Black Hand Side is the Queen Latifah track too. So check that one.
So there's a lot of levels to those lines.
There's a lot of levels, and before he says that too, he talks about how like we lock a lot of stuff in our subconscious mind. He says that we leave it in a vault, and like, there's, for example, one of the clients that I even work with, there was a comment that his father said to him years ago, and it still bothers him to this day. And so, I grew up in a home with a single mom. So my mindset growing up was always, what's your problem? You still have both your parents. I only have one of mine. Is it really that big of a deal? At 32, I realized that is insensitive. But there's a lot of people that I know that have felt some degree of fault because of their parents splitting. Like, maybe it was something I did, maybe I strained their relationship, stuff like that.
Right.
So it is pretty deep, and you see a lot of kids. But yeah, he talks about that. I like how he touches on his growth a little bit more. So he kind of says he has killed all of his demons to move on. And there's a lyric that goes along with that: dead ends are new beginnings to grow. And I thought that was pretty solid, because usually when people dead something off, they move on and they're good with it. But that's, you could still grow some stuff from that. And then he kind of touches on some other deep stuff. He speaks on people that do actual murders and how it catches up with them, and that it doesn't lead to them anywhere, in reference to like, hey, I dead the people in my past to move on. You guys are actually killing people because of whatever thing you believe in, but then it doesn't loop around or you don't grow from that. It doesn't bring you anywhere.
Right. One of the lines that made me pause and really think about was, he said, I saw how one could stab you in the back, but could also part your throat. What a shame that people feel they got to go there, then later find out they ain't going nowhere. And that made me stop and think, like, what does that really mean? When, one could stab you in the back, but there could also be people that part your throat. So that means they're in front of you.
So
right?
I heard it part your throat, but I interpreted that as like, cutting your head off kind of thing. But I also thought I heard parch.
Yeah, I heard parch. I think I heard parch your throat. Where they're in front of you, right? And they're not letting you drink. And they're suffocating you, or they're not trying to hide the fact that they're trying to dry you up or use you for whatever they need. That's kind of how I interpreted it, where they're using you and sucking you dry. So your throat's parched now. So it's either you're stabbed in the back and you don't know it's coming, right?
Or they just suck the life out of you.
Or they're in front of you and you can see them, and you think that they're there to help you or be your friend or whatever, but they're actually, sucking you dry. It could be like a friend that keeps borrowing money.
He makes I like that line, actually. He makes a crabs in a barrel reference later on in the album. And so I think I agree with what you're saying there.
Yeah.
For sure. I like that. There was another one that says that I compare my lines to ones that you shave from a narcotic and ain't nobody touching our product. I was like, okay. Just like, I don't know. That's so leveled there. That other nigga's good, but let's be real. My cup runneth over. They need fresh refills. And like he's talking his game right there. Like, yo, my stuff's good, and all these other people, like, they're just. You need refills on mine, but they're not really worried about theirs. So I liked all that. And some other stuff too that he talked on was like, he shouts out people that passed away. You could relate it to the Black Lives Matter movement. Shouts out Cap, and I don't know. There's a lot here. There's a lot to uncover here.
Yeah, this track is definitely loaded with a lot of things going on. And then after that, we go into Ferndale, which is a little bit more focused. It's more focused on reminiscing about a time when he was younger with a girl, and just that feeling of being young and innocent, and just, you know, going out and eating food and going to a movie with a girl that you like. You know, just that innocent time where nothing else matters in the world but being in that moment.
Yeah, they're talking traveling, eating, sightseeing, and at the end of that, she moves away, and kind of just like. But he doesn't seem sad about it. He's just like happy that they got to share those times.
Right. Yeah, he's feeling the high of life. When you're that young, you don't need alcohol, you don't need drugs. Like, you're just high off of life of you know, stuff that excites you just from living.
I think to summarize this one of the lines in there was, being with you had me flying high without no destination. And I thought that was just kind of a special thing to say. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So like you're saying, like she's kind of taking him above and beyond, and he's feeling that. Super
dope line. And at the end of this track, there's a interlude where it's basically a commercial for the movies that you're about to listen to. It's called the Grindhouse Theater, and they're introducing the double feature. You know, it's the Guns and Boats movie and the Thugged Out Zombie, which are the next two tracks, but it's kind of like a commercial saying, hey, you know, this is this and this movie, and it gives you like little sound bites from the movie. And then you go into it. So it's like you're gonna go to a movie theater and watch these two films, which is a dope concept. I really like that.
Did it fit the album for you?
In terms of directly relating to the song title, the album title, and the overall feel of it, not really. But Elzhi, if you know Elzhi, he always has these types of tracks in his albums. Every album he has a storytelling track like this. So it's not out of the ordinary for him.
Okay.
It's pretty standard.
I think that helps out, and that makes
right.
more
Like
sense.
in Lead Poison, he had a track about a vampire, and you know, it's a 5-minute long story track of being a vampire. And on the preface, he had a song about being in a nightmare. And it's a storytelling track that goes through that. So he always does something like this.
Yeah, I think I asked that because you have the first 6 tracks, you know, about growth and introspection and retrospection and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden you have this fictional movie that comes in. And so I think new listener, as myself, I'm kind of, what the fuck happened? Like, we were just going through all this stuff, and now like you're advertising this movie. But I don't know if it makes sense later on in terms of like zombies and if they are synonymous with something else. But it was just kind of random.
Zombies do return from the dead. They get up. They get up in eighth time.
Oh, yeah. And he talked about as a phoenix rising from the ash and stuff like that. So
let's get into the first movie. It's called Grindhouse Double Feature Presents Guns and Boats, featuring Fez Rock. And so Elzhi's not on this song. It's Fez Rock rapping, which I don't know who Fez Rock is. I'm assuming he's from Detroit.
I liked him.
Yeah, no, he did great. I thought he told a really good story in a short amount of time. Both these songs are pretty short. They're less than 3 minutes long. So they're not super long storytelling tracks, which I thought was a good idea to make them pretty short. Because they are pretty dense, and you're listening to a movie. The first one is, I'm assuming it's about a character named 00, and he hears a news report about zombies, and he gets chased, and he's basically in an apocalypse. You know, he's kind of like Mad Max, where he's already in an apocalyptic world. And he goes on a boat chase, but he gets killed. And he drowns to the bottom of the sea, but then his ghost is still there. You can still hear him in the lake. That's kind of what I got.
That's funny. I didn't catch that he died, because then he makes it onto the boat, and it's like your showdown between your antagonist and protagonist. And I don't. At first, I thought he got shot, but then it's like, okay, the bad guy got shot. But I don't know. Like in the end, like it's really thought out and delivered very well, for sure. I mean, it's. I wouldn't say it's a movie I'd want to go see. I think more like, oh, this is a movie feel like I've heard of before. So it wasn't original to me, at least. Yeah. But I like the way that it was delivered and rap form, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
And then that leads into Grindhouse Double Feature presents Thugged Out Zombie, which is Elzhi's film. And I really like this. I think Elzhi could be a writer for a TV show or a series or a movie. I think he has potential to do that.
I'm not going to compare him to Ghostface, but the level of description in this track was pretty damn cool. Like when he's talking about the beginning, like he goes up to this house and is looking around and checks in, the door is locked, but he goes in, it's like, oh shit, this is a stash house, but no one's here. And you kind of get this.
He sets up the scene.
He sets up the scene that you feel hurried. Like, well, what if they come back? You better get what you need and get the fuck out.
And the beginning of it, I love the way it starts at the end of the movie. How it ends. When he walks into the trap house, that's actually the end. And then he goes back to, all right, I'm going to tell you how this all started, how I got here. And then he goes into him and his homie, you know, they're basically, you know, living on the block, and they see news reports about zombies, but they're like, oh, that's not real. Like, fuck that. And then they're, you know, him and his friend are like, yeah, well, if they come around here, like, we're actually going to kill them. Like, they're saying they're not afraid. But then they're drug dealers, and they run into one of the crackheads that they sell drugs to. And so with a crackhead, you wouldn't think if they look weird or disheveled, you wouldn't think anything of it, right? So they get close to enough to him. The crackhead, he's actually a zombie. He bites his friend, and Elzhi, you know, he's talking from the point of the character. You know, he shoots the guy, doesn't die. All of a sudden, he gets to shoot him in the head. Then he realizes, oh shit, this is real. This is a zombie, you know, attacking us. I just love the detail of him talking about all of that, you know, and how it happens, and how he can't shoot his friend because he doesn't want to shoot him in the head and actually kill him because he can't believe what's happening.
Yeah, the storytelling's great. I think there was a part that I missed from that, because what I got was that they were talking about how all this stuff started a month beforehand, and I thought I got that they were at a party. And because he mentioned how people, like, you shoot them dead and they start coming out their caskets or just rising back up after you shoot them. So I don't know if that, like, played in before zombie happened, but I'll have to definitely need to re-listen to that a few times.
I love his lines after he kills the zombie. He's like, left him there like a new fucking born baby god. And that's a direct reference to Ghostface Killah in the Seventh Chamber off Enter the Wu-Tang. It's like a skit, and at the beginning of the track they're going back and forth how they killed a guy, and Ghostface is like, I left him there like a new fucking born baby. I just love the reference to Wu-Tang right there. That's great. But yeah, it's a cool track. This would be a movie I'd want to watch. It sounds entertaining, and then he at the end of the song or the film, he enters the stash house, and he's looking for a place to hide from the zombies. So yeah, it's dope. And it makes you want to, like, okay, what happens next? Like, where's part 2? You know, when am I going to, you know, hear the finished story?
Yeah, I liked it. The movie has some potential to grow and do something. Is that the name of the next track?
That is.
Wow. Wow. So we got potential.
Yeah. So now we're going back into the theme of the album.
Now we're going back to the album.
With getting 8 times up.
All of a sudden. I guess that'd be my only criticism. But, like, as you said, if he's been doing it historically, then that makes more sense. So I like that he's still keeping old stuff in there. But potential is... I like this track because it's still, this is where I got more enrichment and more growth and stuff like that. And like I said, I like hearing all that stuff.
Right.
But he's talking about how I'm assuming he's on tour. He travels to Spain. He did the currency exchange and everything. And now he's checking in the hotel. He's looking forward to the views, and he's really setting up like his current lifestyle.
Right.
And it didn't explicitly say this, and maybe I added a little bit of this, but he's telling people, there's a line where he's telling people to basically realize their worth aside from the money. Mm-hmm. And I think that's important because what he's living is not necessarily achievable or realistic for the average person. So I think it still says, keep your sights high, as he said in the first track, but like, you may not live this way, but you'll still live a meaningful life, and that's worth living. And he touches on how he's fortunate to live this dream and everything. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say he definitely, it's dope because he talks about himself, but then he also gives advice. Mm-hmm. So it's not just him bigging himself up and talking shit about everything that he has and accomplished, and I'm this and I'm that, and you're not shit. He throws gems at people. He says, I really hope that you're teaching your kids to see their worth when they don't have money. Mm-hmm. It's not just about himself. He wants others to grow with him.
And I think that's the difference between him and new artists, because they're young. They're just talking about what they have now that they never had before, but they're not necessarily, I don't know, it's just not a lot of, substance within that. Later on that might be the first verse, but I kind of like how he was talking about chilling with pharaohs with three eyes. So one for sparrows, the other one, as I mentioned earlier, crabs in a barrel, and then the third one for arrows from Cuba that will make you fall in love with something stupid. And so he's kind of like keeping an eye out for people that sparrows, like they just kind of flock around when something happens. Right. And they're not necessarily with you. And then you have crabs in a barrel. So the theory behind that is when one gets to the top, it's dragged down by another one. And then arrows from Cupid, basically, and not falling in love with some, I forget where what I was watching, but it was just like, or an album, but it was just talking about like finding like a Cuban girlfriend that like cooks and cleans and does all this stuff for you. It's basically this fantasy of like when you're rich and famous and living that. And so pharaohs, one of the things was that they were wise rulers. And so if he's living with that mindset, he's looking for all the things that come with fame and that will drag him down. Right. So I liked all that.
Yeah. Well, some of these lines like really made me think, and it were really deep. One of them was, why they always thought that I'd walk inside the store and steal. Why the grumpy old neighbors never thought I'd get over this humpy hole. The right path is the bumpy road. I know I'm special. To a demon, I'm a god. To a god, I'm a vessel. Many chose the fast lane, but I took the scenic route. And those lines like hit me hard. Those were really deep lines where, he starts out, he's talking about being black and walking to a store and people staring at him as if he's going to steal something, or the grumpy neighbors just kind of like giving him shit and not believing in him and just thinking he's a depressed person, just not worth anything. But he knows the right path is a bumpy road. There's going to be ups and downs. It's not all going to be glorious. You're going to have struggles. And then when he says, he knows his worth, he says, I know I'm special. To a demon, I'm a god. To evil, I'm good.
To a god, I'm a vessel.
To God, I'm a vessel. I'm allowing God to use me to be on the right path.
Mm-hmm. And no matter who looks at him, I'm not lower. Like I'm higher than that. I'm more than what you're saying I am. And I like how he keeps, jabbing at the haters. One of them was, I stayed dedicated to my craft while they laughed at it. They 2 cents could have went towards the water, power, gas, or phone bill. And I really like that because it's like, dude, y'all, I forget what pod we covered it in, but people, maybe it was Joyner Lucas, but people basically telling him it was Joyner Lucas. People telling him what to do. Yeah. And it's like, I'm good on my own. I'll figure it out. And here just saying like, yeah, all those 2 cents you're trying to give me, you might as well just took that energy and did something else to benefit yourself, because I'm fine. And so I just, bars.
Yeah, that was a really deep song. That was one of my favorites on the album. And I love how he ends the song kind of taking a jab at major labels. He says, "Dear all majors, why you busy presenting me with small pages? I know I'm the shit. I eat rap books and leave my teeth marked in pencils." And, he's basically saying majors have approached him and offered him probably small deals, whatever. And he's like, "I know my worth. Like, if you want me, you got to pay for me. Like, I know my potential. I know my capabilities. So it's on you if you want that." Which is, I think that points to him being in a good place.
Oh yeah, he's good. Yeah. No, it's other people that are making a mistake by judging him, by misjudging him, underestimating him, considering him underrated or whatever, and it's their loss. He's fine where he is regardless, and so I think that's cool. God.
Next, we move to God, that good old dick. Foolish was fun, he was funny on this song.
Good old deep throat and all that. So I really like the meaning behind this track, because it's I didn't take any notes.
You mean it's not about good old dick?
Not all the way through, and probably not for him. But I think it's more about the good old deep throat, I guess. But I like that this track is kind of talking about I'm not religious, but I don't shit on people that are religious. But I do feel maybe my issue comes with the people than it does the book, because people will take certain things, run with it, and use it as a way to be above someone else. And I'm not a fan of that. But what I like about this track, though, is that people have lost that meaning and are using other things that they look forward to. So he's kind of asking, what is your motivation? What is encouraging you to do the things that you're doing? What philosophies do you follow? So he says gold, money, and diamonds in the chorus of that's what's motivating people to do their things. And as we look at least in U.S. politics, it's really, a lot of people could argue that it's money motivated. And so that's what I got from this track.
Yeah, it's pointing out, what do you believe in? What are you being deceived by? Is it gold, money, diamonds, grant houses for drug sale was the other one. Guns, oil, and dollars. It's what is pulling a wool over your eyes and deceiving you, and you're chasing after it, but it's not going to add value to your life. But a lot of people do believe in that stuff without realizing it, I think.
It's kind of a double entendre with that. It's adding value to your life financially, but it's not adding value to your life, in something substantial, I guess.
Yeah, I actually liked his singing on this.
I did not. I wish he, I don't say I wish. I wonder if it would have been better had he left it to her, because there were times where, wondering where you would be, and it just doesn't.
Oh, he's not an amazing singer. Because he doesn't do it very often. Yeah. So I think that's why I liked it, because it's different. It's not what he usually does.
I like that it was short, but Jay-Z can't sing either, but I don't know if I really want to hear him hold a tune either. But if you can't sing, I prefer you didn't.
Yeah.
Eminem does it in a way where I'm all right, that's fine. But I wasn't feeling Elzhi singing. I wish he left it to her. But this is the second time she's featured in this album, but you don't hear, what was her name? Monica Blair?
Blair, yeah.
And you don't hear her. She's overshadowed in this song, and then in the first track that she's in, you hear her sparingly. Very little.
Yeah.
So
it's not like a major feature.
No, but if you're gonna have her featured, let her do it. If not, then back off.
I thought it was interesting that one of his lines, he says it's not a direct quote, but he mentions he wasn't sleeping and not taking care of himself to make the music for the fans. And I thought it was interesting. It was almost as if he was, hurting himself to fulfill what his fans want from him, which is not necessarily the healthiest thing to do, where you're putting the needs of others before yours. And he probably recognizes that. I think that's why he's putting it in there, is because he knows it's probably not the best thing to do. Obviously, he wants to make his fans happy and he wants to provide music, but I don't know if you should do that at the expense of your health, especially your mental health.
I agree with that. I started thinking about, like, he doesn't really drop albums. He's not doing it like DaBaby or anybody else where they're just, tracks
and
on
with,
tap.
with the type of music that he makes, it's way too dense. His lyrics are way too dense to be dropping an album every year. Even though I would, as a fan, I would love him to, because I can't get enough of it. But yeah, it takes time to really process his music and his lyrics.
With deep stuff like that, I don't know if you can put out stuff like that every year.
Right.
I mean, when we did Gift of Gab, he said, since he speaks on life, he'll always have stuff to write about. But still, like, I don't know if you can.
Right.
I don't care if you're 42
think
or not.
To make up for lost time, it would be dope if he was, more consistent. But he did just put out Jericho Jackson in 2017, so it's not that long ago. But I would love for him to do more, put out more, maybe more EPs or more joint projects. Maybe do. I mean, this has been a rumor for a long time, but he was supposedly supposed to drop a group album with him, Royce, and Black Milk producing.
Oh, shit.
That's been a rumor for a long time. I would love for that to happen. And I think that would be great for Elzhi, because obviously it's only half the writing. And I don't think the album would be very long, maybe 10 tracks. Give me 10 tracks with Royce and Elzhi and Black Milk producing.
Black Milk and Royce producing together on that too?
Yeah.
And
that's a
Elzhi
classic
and Royce
right
dropping
there.
bars?
I don't know why they haven't done that. I don't see what's holding them back, but fuck. That's easy money right there.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. I don't know why. I don't know. Yo, my favorite, probably the best track on this album, in my opinion, Masterclass.
Masterclass.
This one.
Dude, it's been a long time since I've replayed a track more than 3 times in a row. I haven't done that in years. This song I had to keep playing over and over, because I was like, fuck, I need to catch everything. I need to listen to this until I catch all the bars, and I still did not.
I still didn't catch them all either. And before I came out here, I was listening to this track, and there was he says something about a unicorn and shitting on the goats. And what I got from this track is, this is the masterclass. He's teaching it. He's teaching his subjects. And it's about him, his style, and dealing with him and his likes and everything like that. But he's referring to himself as a unicorn over the goats, the greatest of all time.
Right.
And I love that, because a unicorn is a mythical thing that we say, man, this thing's a damn unicorn, like it doesn't exist and it's great. But we already have this thing. He does this great thing throughout the album of, like, something that we have established as, the go-to saying for something being great, and then thinking of the next thing that's, I guess that technically is better than that. A unicorn is above a goat. And it just makes so much sense. But
yeah, I'm surprised no one else has really played with the goat like that, like playing with the word goat, because so many rappers mention that nowadays.
And I think that's what makes this stand out, because everyone's saying goat, and he's just like, well, I'm the unicorn shitting on your goats.
Like when we did Royce's album that came out this year, The Allegory, when he says, you are what you eat, but I've never ate goat.
Yeah. He's like, I am the goat, but I've never had it. Yeah. He's probably had goat cheese though. He's probably had goat cheese.
No, but I love that play on words. I mean, this whole song, he's just fucking taking you to school.
When I guess I imagine a friend coming up to me like, hey man, I rap now. And you're like, oh shit, you rap? Like, let me hear something. This track is what I imagine, because I love when people just rap about no one, but they're just dissing to diss.
Right.
And so I had to text Matt, and I was just like, you go and learn today. I don't care how you earn your pay. I'll eat your food, lick your whole plate, and have you return the tray. That's fucked up. That's messed up. And I was like, dude, this is automatically my favorite track.
Who thinks of that shit?
Dude. I mean,
that shit is fire.
Because you think of I remember famous people reading tweets, and I think the one for the DeAndre Jordan, the old center for the Clippers. One of them was like, "Hey, you look like the type of uncle that'll stick his fork in your plate." And it's like, yeah, that's fucked up to do. Like, get your fork out of my plate. And so he takes it to another level. It's just like, I'm taking your food, I'm licking the plate, and hey, go put this back for me. So I visualize these things. I'm like, yeah, man, that's pretty disrespectful.
I visualize that at hometown buffet or something. Just got a mountain of food and took it from you, and he's like,
takes it. Take it back. So it's rude. Yeah, so I love stuff like that.
Yeah, the other lines that I love, he says, dropping gems on the weakest link, more than the town jeweler. Could chop the ones that's entitled the illest. The deadliest skill is a real kiss of death for every breath that you will miss. I was like, that shit's fire. And there's so many entendres where it's gems on your weakest link. You know, gems go on links, on chains, more than your town jeweler. Like, dude, just fucking nuts.
Yeah, stop. The other one I really liked was if you broke or fell in love with the wealth, don't be a hot shot. I'll turn you into a shell of themselves. I'll turn you into a shell of themselves. And it's like hot shot, shell of yourself, a former self, like just making you out to be nothing. Like you're not a hot shot anymore. I'll turn you into a shell. So like that, just stuff like that where you kind of really dissect. You're like, man. But this whole track, he's just going in. He's hip hopping. He's having a good time. Like he's going hard.
Yeah,
you know where he's at.
At the end, he starts talking to you about he's gonna play a game with you, and he wants you to finish the line. But then he stops and he doesn't do it, and he's saving it for the live show.
No, he wants you. I think no, that was the line, and he wants you to. What did you learn from my show? And I think he wants you to rhyme from that. That's what I interpreted from that.
I interpret it as he's going to do that at the live show. He'll play the game at the you have to be at the live show to play the game. Because he's going to go into, because he tells you to rhyme, because he says, I'm going to put the mic to you. I'm going to be close enough for you to give me a high five. I'm going to get the mic to you, and you have to finish the line, and you have to stay with my tempo. So it's like a game that you can play if you go see him live.
Would you play?
Dude, I don't know, bro. I don't know if I can keep up.
Yeah.
That shit's rough. Dude, I remember, that reminds me of, I wanted to go see Slaughterhouse back in 2011, 2012. I saw him at House of Blues in LA. And they had this segment in their show where they invite fans to come on stage and rap one of their songs.
Okay.
Give them the mic and you got to rap it. You rap their verse. And dude, it was the funniest thing. 10 people went up and they couldn't do it. They get nervous or they forget the line.
Whose part do you think would be hardest, and whose do you think would be easiest?
Easiest, I think, would be Joe Budden's, because it's he makes great verses, but they're not very technical. I think either Royce or Crooked's would be the hardest. I don't know. Royce's flow is insane.
But he's gotten better even now. I think at the time of Slaughterhouse, I would say Crooked. Right now, I might say Royce.
Yeah, that might be
if they were to do a new project. But
yeah, but Elzhi's done this before. And on the preface, he has a song called "The Guessing Game," and you actually play the game while you're listening to the song.
I remember that track.
Yeah, so
I got them all wrong.
Yeah, so he wants you to guess and I love how he plays with that. No other rapper does that, where he gets the listener to be actively involved in the song and what he's talking about. Okay, you're gonna guess the next lines coming up.
That's cool when they get you actively involved. And you're not even there. It's a trip because the album can be 10 years old and a new listener is feeling engaged and be like, all right, I'm on board. No one else does this. So I think it's a cool feature. Yeah.
So I definitely when this pandemic is over, I definitely want to see Elzhi live.
That'd be cool.
I want to play this game.
Dude, play the game. Raise your hand. Yeah. Raise your hand. So, and we end with Jason.
We end with fucking just murdering everyone.
Yeah.
This is the end of the movie where just everyone dies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I like how he's, again, with the description, his descriptiveness in the beginning, just comparing himself to Jason in terms of just taking over. He's taken over the game. I like the line.
And it's a cool play on words because his name is Jason Powers. He's referencing Jason from the horror movies. Mm-hmm. He's tying that together. You know, it's like he's become Jason from the movies where he can't die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like the line, I used to want the block on lock. Now I want the city key. Mm. And that's him again. I was just saying, like, where people have a standard set that they want, and then he's talking about the next best thing. Mm-hmm. So people in their raps talk about all the time, like, yeah, I hold this block down. I got this. This is my town, you know, whatever. Right. But he wants the city key. He wants the whole city, not just your block. Right. Well, including your block. So I like that. I mean,
well, right after that, he says, and though my life is a movie, I pause between scenes and see my setbacks with greenbacks like using green screens. And I was like, what the fuck? That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, that's just
like greenbacks with green screens, like the green screens on your back.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
It's too much. And you know, with these last two tracks, they're definitely more, I don't know, they're not, I feel like they fit with the album because I look at these two tracks as like, all right, I'm going to have fun with all this confidence and growth I have and just like have my tracks where I'm going after other MCs, which you see in every other album you listen to anyways.
Right.
So even though they were a little bit more focused on that, I thought it was fine because the build up leading to it, I guess, makes a lot of sense to me.
Him, like, just letting loose, showing off his ability.
Mm-hmm.
And just proving to everyone that you can't out-rap him.
And you want that because you listen to this whole album. It's like, dude, this guy's talented and he's putting a lot of stuff together. I wish he would put some together where he's just going, oh, wait, we got Masterclass and we got Jason. Cool.
Right. Yeah, sometimes you just want them to go off.
Mm-hmm. And he does it with 2 tracks, though, too. So it's not overwhelming. Like, all right, man, like, you've done 10 tracks of this. We get it. Right. Which I felt in other albums. This one was... I thought this whole album was very well put together and had enough of everything in it.
It's very cohesive.
Very cohesive.
Dude, I got to say these lines. He says, my think tank's full of piranhas that swim in aquatic brain waves. It's not a game, so go tell the contestant. I dice him and sell his intestines to a delicatessen.
Yeah, that's
dude,
some...
The internal,
right there.
The internal rhyme schemes are insane. Mm-hmm. Like there's rhymes inside of rhymes with Elzhi.
Oh yeah, he's loaded.
Yeah, and it definitely helps to read it. I feel like a lot of these songs, if we were able to read the lyrics, I think we would have pulled out a little bit more because there's so much packed in to these bars that it's hard to really get the full meaning just listening to it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Especially with how he writes.
Oh yeah. So that's the end of the album. And overall, like, you know, it's not that I was against Elzhi. I just only heard one album by him, the Preface. And so, but at least at the time when I listened to it, it didn't stand out enough for me to be like, yeah, he's got to be on my radar. Mm. But it was enough for him to be, you know, if he pops back up again, I'll definitely take a listen, but I'm not rushing to it. Right. Then with this album dropping and listening to it, it's like, okay, I want more of this.
He actually just put a few of his mixtapes on Spotify that came out a long time ago, like in the early 2000s. So you can check. You should definitely listen to those. I think Witness My Growth is on there, which is a really dope mixtape.
I was looking for the Preface wasn't on there.
The Preface, it might not be on there because of sample clearances. But if you can find that album, maybe you put it on your computer or something.
No, I have it on my computer.
Okay, yeah. But listen to, I mean, I don't know if you want to listen to Lead Poison before we do it, you know, or you should just check it out, but you should definitely listen to Lead Poison.
I listened to Elmatic, and then there was another one I listened to. I tried it sometimes with a new album. I listened to what came out directly before it, and then
so that would have been...
It wasn't Lead Poison. It was a 2019 project. And
2019?
There was a 2019 one, I thought. We're going to look that up.
No, he didn't put anything out last year. He put out Jericho Jackson in 2017. Lead Poison was 2016.
Oh, when did Europass come out? Or maybe it was re-released because it said 2019.
Oh, then it was Europass came out in like 2008.
And then there was another one, Out of Focus, for 2019.
Yeah, that Out of Focus came out in like the early 2000s. That was a mixtape. He just put it up there last year.
Gotcha. So I think I listened to Elmatic. I listened to that one for sure, and I think I listened to Witness My Growth.
Yeah, those are mixtapes.
So, but yeah, overall, my thoughts on Elzhi is that he's definitely on my radar now. I'll be keeping eyes out for him.
I really hope that Elzhi does more group stuff, like the Jericho Jackson album, like this album. I love that he works with one producer, but I want him to do more group stuff with other MCs. I really hope that him and Royce do something together, because I think that would be incredible. I don't see any two other MCs that could be on the same level and match each other in terms of lyricism. So I would love to hear that. But yeah, I've been a huge fan of Elzhi for a long time, and he's making it easy to be a fan of him, to say the least. It's like I'm super happy with his output and the music that he's putting out. I hope that he gets discovered more. I hope that he gets more recognition for his ability as an MC. Because it's just incredible, the bars that he puts together. A lot of it will go over your head, the first time you listen to it.
As you said, where the replay
Right, that's where the replay value comes in. So if you like replaying tracks over and over to catch everything, this is for you. If you just want to put some stuff in the background, the beats are dope, but you're going to miss so much. You're not going to have no idea what he's talking about if you just put it on in the background.
If you like listening to someone's voice and the flow to the beats, it's cool, but it's still, I get what you mean, though, and it really can't.
It's not songs. There's not like singing choruses and hooks and, stuff like, it's not songs. It's bars.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's hard to explain because it doesn't make sense. I like the way he flows together in his track. So if you want to listen to that, you're kind of missing out at the same time. So I don't know. He's cool.
Yeah, dude. Elzhi is one of the goats, man. He's
unicorn.
Up there. He's a unicorn.
Unicorn. Correction.
So yeah, thank you for tuning in to the Rap Thought Podcast. Thank you for listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, Stitcher, TuneIn, Amazon. Check us out on YouTube. We got videos up there, so you can check out little clips of us talking about the albums.
We're also getting started on Reddit and interacting with some people there, and
we're on
Facebook
Reddit
too. Definitely check us out there.
Yeah, follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're all up on there interacting. If you want to talk shit to us, that's cool. Get on there.
Don't do that. Another kid did. So,
yeah, thanks for listening to Matt and Brandon on the Wrapped Up Podcast.
Yo, we'll see you next week.
Peace.